In a world where shadows hide behind the silver screen, one team dares to reveal the secrets. Dive deep with paranoid American Tommy Truthful and the rest of the Truth Mafia as they decode the hidden messages in movies we thought we knew. From ancient myths to modern politics, from gematria to the darkest corners of the occult. Prepare to see cinema in a whole new light. Welcome to Conspiracy Cinema.
What's up, everyone? How y'all doing today? Welcome to another episode of Conspiracy Cinema Podcast. Here with my boy Paranoid American. We got Abbie and Owen. Is that your name, brother?
Yeah, that's right.
And Owen. So we're going to get into some dream hacking today. Before I get going, guys, YouTube took my channel down again. So you'll find the new YouTube channel down in the description. Make sure you go click on that, hit the bell, hit all notifications. That way you get all notifications. And it's always important to follow our Rumble channel, TruthMafia TV, where we don't get taken down. So how you guys doing today?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. What are we going to get into, Paranoid?
I mean, well, I wanted to just start off that we're talking about the OA, and we're just doing season 1, I think. Well, at least I only saw season 1, so we can talk about season 2, but I only saw season 1, and that I saw it like maybe 3 times now. The first time, I didn't know what the hell I was watching, and it just looked like a performative dance thing, and I just wasn't into it. And I moved away. Like it was just like a blip in my mind. And a few people have brought it up since then in the context of dreams. And now I understand. And now I think appreciate it for what it is. But it's weird because there's not many movies or shows that once you hear like, oh, it's about this thing, and then you can go back and rewatch it, it completely changes as much as the OA does. So I wanted to lead with that. If you're not familiar with what lucid dreaming is or how to do it, we'll talk a little bit about that. I also did a show recently with Abbie called Russian Dream Hackers, which is super dope, about these Russian dudes that go and like hack into John Dee's computer in a dream. We won't even go down that rabbit hole right now. We'll touch on that. And there's like going to be a link to Carlos
Castaneda. Go down that rabbit hole. That's the whole reason I wanted to interview Abbie.
Well, not right this second, but we'll get into that today. Yeah. And then, And then Owen and Abbie are both here, not just because they're longtime friends and badass people, but because they've been working on a podcast called Reality Transurfing. And I figure I'll let Abbie and Owen talk about reality transurfing, and maybe Abbie as an expert on like what the heck lucid dreaming is for a layman, for someone that might have heard about it but doesn't actually know what the hell it is.
Well, do you want to get into the reality transurfing?
Yeah, do that first. I'll talk about reality transurfing, where people can find your podcast too up front.
Yeah, so Abbie and I, we've known each other for years. We actually have actively studied a couple of what we thought were Russian mystical traditions that randomly kind of fell into our lap, reality transurfing being one of those. And then The Dream Hackers is a Russian book series that is somehow also closely related, but it kind of all has its roots in Toltec mysticism from what we can tell so far. But reality transurfing is kind of like, I would call it like a model. It's kind of like a basic use book for how to navigate reality, have a little bit more control over it. It goes into some of the more nuanced ideas of what manifestation is and natural law as we know it. And a lot of like really interesting ideas, like in magic, for instance, egregores. The author talks about it from a perspective that's more quantum physics based. So clusters of energy or energetic streams being highlighted there. But he also talks about dreams and intention, which is really what all magic is based in, is intention. And so he kind of shifts your thinking from more of a quantum perspective toward a lot of these mystical ideas, I would say. Dreaming being one of them. And I'll let Abbie talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was kind of I was always a dreamer, but that was my introduction into lucid dreaming. And So lucid dreaming is while you're dreaming, you realize you're dreaming, so you kind of wake up in the dream, and then you can control your dream. So reality transurfing just taught me that it was even a possibility, and then it taught me how to do it without a whole bunch of pretense, and without a whole bunch of rituals, and without a whole bunch of reality checks and stuff. It really just told you to, about 10 times a day, just ask yourself, am I awake or am I dreaming? And then you have to look around and actually, with your conscious mind, decide that you're awake. But if you do it probably 10 times a day at random times, it might only take you 3 days, but it might take you 3 months, but eventually you'll start waking up in a dream, and it does work.
There's another way too, Abbie, where you can take a rubber band and put it on your wrist and set the alarm, and you snap that rubber band every time the alarm goes off. It only takes about 3 days to train your subconscious to do it. So you set the rubber band for like every third hour. When the alarm goes off, you snap it 3 times, and then you wear that rubber band or a bracelet when you go to sleep. And then when you're in the dream state, you won't see the rubber band there, and you'll become conscious that you're dreaming.
And
Do you set
another
the alarm though?
Huh?
I think over
You still have
time
to
you're
have the alarm
supposed to
go off.
weed that out.
No, you don't
like
need
after
the
a
alarm
while.
in your dream. You trained your subconscious to look down at your wrist. So
Okay.
you do it for a couple of days. It's the routine of it, and then when you're in your dream, you'll look down at your wrist because you just trained your mind to do that, and that actually really does work.
So that's the same idea as looking at your hands, because so where all this stems from is Carlos Castaneda. So Carlos Castaneda wrote the book The Art of Dreaming. It was one of the first books on lucid dreaming. And a lot of people say he was bullshit, but I started there, which is like probably his 7th book. I started with The Art of Dreaming and tried all the things that he said to try in the dream, and it works. And it works so phenomenally well. But the first thing that he was given to do when it came to dreaming was to search for his hands. So, and that's because in a dream, you'll be driving or you'll be washing dishes, or you're always seeing your hands. So if you just train yourself to look at your hands, so even if you do the same thing where am I awake or am I dreaming, and you look at your hands, that is lucid dreaming trigger. So it's kind of one of the most simplest things to do. And you could actually increase the intention by right before you go to sleep, looking at your hands. And even Robert Wagner, he's since written the book Lucid Dreaming. That's one of the things that he says to do, is to look at your hands before you go to sleep, and with the intention of, I'm going to find my hands when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and I think that's what part of that whole wrist thing comes into it. But
yeah,
there's another thing you can do. Like, a lot of people report having these night terrors where something causes them to not be able to move in their bed, where they're frozen and stuff, and they don't know if they're dreaming, they don't know if they're awake. And I always tell them, write some shit on your ceiling, because if you're dreaming, you ain't going to be able to read it. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's smart.
You can't really read words in the dream state. But I've heard from people, I think it was actually when I was watching you and Paranoid American talk, you was saying, or during that podcast, you might have said something about if you have them say the word or something. Ain't there a way you can find out what the words mean in a dream?
Yeah. So there is always like dreaming guides around, and one in particular is called the Dreaming Emissary. But what you can do, because words are always weird in a dream, it doesn't matter. Like you're texting, it comes out wrong. You're reading a sign, it comes out wrong. It doesn't really matter what it is. Like, the words scramble and they are nonsensical. So the dream hackers found that the tool to figure out how to read, or have a book, like to read a whole book, is to literally just tell the dream to read it to you. And I've tried it and it works. I had the Dreaming Emissary read me this. It was a children's book, but it was talking in a really quiet voice. So I yelled at it. I was like, I can't hear you. You need to be louder. And then it started reading it in an audible tone.
Did it make sense? Like, whatever it was
Do you think
reading?
that's AI, Paranoid? Do you think that's AI because we can't read? AI can't write real good either, dude. It has trouble spelling. So my mind goes to AI there.
Oh, you don't even know. Like we decided this like when we were in Florida, we're like, what the fuck? We kind of got this weird dream connection with AI, because the other thing is when you look at your hands in a dream intentionally. So when you're lucid and you look at your hands, they don't necessarily look like your hands. The first time I found my hands in a dream lucidly, my fingers were fused together. So how much is that like AI?
Well, because like right now, the state of AI, it's going to get scary to the point where AI is going to be able to advance beyond what I think our resolution of dreams is, unless, and this is maybe crazy, but maybe the advancement of AI and us seeing how AI works could somehow help us formulate those same images. Because I think that the way the images form, it's not exactly the same as the biological process in the brain, but what it is just like billions of different patterns being recognized and assembled in ways that make sense. And the two things that stand out was that up until recently, generating hands and generating text in AI was almost identical in the ways that it like ran into issues that if you were in a dream. Because another one of those things is not just that the text might not make sense or be hard to read, but if you look at something and read it in a dream, or just know what the shapes or the letters might be, even if it doesn't make sense, and then look down and then look back up and try and read it again, it'll almost always change into something else. And that's another one of those reality checks. So this is very similar to how AI works. Like if you hit generate again with the same prompt and just change the seed a little bit, you'll get the same general image, but anything that looked like text would just completely change or disappear. And it feels like it might be tapping into either the same realm or the same rules that govern the both of the realms.
You know, what's funny is that's one of the gates of dreaming. I think it's the first gate of dreaming, is that you have to, after you find your hands, that's the gate. But to enter through the gate is to be able to look at objects and like, you know, so whatever's around you. The first time I did this, it was I was looking at water, and there was a guy who was jet skiing, and there was like a person floating in a tube and like a duck, but you have to choose one item to be your anchor item. So for me, it was the duck. I was looking at the duck, and then you glance away and you look at the jet skier, and then you look back at the duck, and then you look back at the person tubing and look back at the duck, and you keep doing it to try, because to enter through the first gate of dreaming, you have to stabilize the dream and keep it the same. So I knew I was fine until the jet skier went from wearing like this red weird outfit that looked like Where's Waldo to green, and then I was like, fuck, I knew I blew it at that point.
And what does that mean if you blow it? That you just like start losing control of having like lucid control, or like what is the actual
I was still
downside?
lucid, but it's like, so in the Art of Dreaming, he says that there's 7 gates of dreaming, and he only describes the first 4. So these are like techniques that you have to perfect in order to perfect dreaming. And in case like, so to get into the whole what's the purpose of lucid dreaming, it is to find and perfect your energy body, because every person has an energy double. And so, I mean, my mind's going a whole bunch of different places right now, because Owen is a person who has the sleep paralysis, with the sleep paralysis demon that sits on his chest and freaks him out, you know, where he thinks that he's awake, or, you know, doesn't know if he's awake or dreaming. So
I had this pulled up because I knew it was going to come up.
Yeah. So my thought on this now, like this is where my brain has been going lately, is that if the whole point of lucid dreaming is to find and perfect your energy body, it's not perfect yet. And I know this because in some of my lucid dreams, my energy body is blind. Like I have to intentionally will it to see. So I think that that's your energy body sitting on you, looking at you, and it's definitely not perfect yet. It's like a little fucking lump of demon, because you have not yet gotten to where you need to be.
I'm sorry, is this triggering you, Owen? Should I take this off the screen?
No, I'm just getting really turned on, actually.
Is this what you see? Is this what basically?
No, she does not look like that. But there's different ones, to be honest. One time I thought it was my dad in the corner. He's like, student loans.
Yeah, you really can't see. It looks like obviously too, but it's just like
yeah, it's like that's right. That's exactly right. It's really not. It kind of takes the form of something, but it's very vague. It's just like a presence. It's like a looming presence. You wake up and you can't tell if you're in a dream or not. You can't move and you can't scream.
and
Ask
it
me
doesn't
why I
feel
know
right.
that. But it's very scary. Yeah. But what it might be, I read this book by Anthony Peake called Hidden Universe, I believe. And he talked about how like a lot of shamans would go into light deprivation. They would go into these caves in order to, I guess, produce DMT and do astral out of body kind of stuff. So it may be a prompting, I've heard, to come out of your body if you can basically shake the horrifying experience.
That's what I'm talking about, is that it's you coming out of your body. It's your energetic body, and it's not quite developed yet.
Yeah, that checks out.
Have you ever seen this movie called The Nightmare? I think it's about this.
No.
So if you haven't, I believe it's like part movie, part documentary that describes sleep paralysis, but like as a premise that there's something deeper going on, like it's an actual little demon or something. Do you think that there's an actual is there a possibility that there's actually a demon sitting on your chest? And the reason I asked that is because there are old ancient texts that talk about people that go and they astral project, and they do like this lucid dreaming without the word being lucid dreaming having been discovered in the 17th century. But that if you didn't know what you were doing, that this little silver cord that connects your body to like your soul body, I guess, that if that thing gets severed, it's almost like when a kid, lets go of the birthday balloon outside. It's just like, it's gone. You know what I mean? But now someone can like jump into that kid, or someone can jump into Owen, and like kind of take over, and you're just trapped out in the ether, essentially forever, I assume.
Yeah, there is even in reality transurfing, when he teaches you about lucid dreaming, he says, just to let you know, there is inherent risk in lucid dreaming. It's not all, it is fun and games, but you have to go into it. Like if you feel weird about it when somebody talks about lucid dreaming, then it's not for you and you shouldn't do it. But there is risk that you could travel into other worlds and not come back. There is a movie like that. I just watched it recently where the little boy is like lucid dreaming and they can't find him. Shoot, I forget what it was. I just watched it probably within the last 2 months.
That's what Dr. Sleep's all about too. Dr. Sleep, that little girl in there, we were just talking about this last night, me and Donut. She's like a dream walker, and the main character with the hat, Rose, her name is, she's like some psychic type vampire that feeds on children's fears, and they feed on what's called the shine. So it's children with special abilities, telekinesis, telepathy, stuff like this. And they'll kidnap them kids. Usually it ends very bad for the kid. They kill them, and it starts to release this steam out of their mouth. And then they feed on that, and it expands their life. But that girl, Rose, how she finds them is she goes into the astral plane. She'll be meditating and go into the astral plane. And then if she has, say she has a shirt from them or a piece of paper, something that they've touched, she can find them. And she can be in the astral plane, and she sees different people that shine brighter. It's like, it's kind of like, moths to a flame, how they're attracted to these kids with these special abilities. But this one little girl, she's so powerful that she was able to go when they were killing these other kids. She was able to come there and actually take control of that Rose girl and cause her to hurt herself, all kinds of stuff. Like she was able to do it in the dream state and in the astral state, and cause an actual physical harm to that girl, which, the Rose lady was completely shocked because she had never experienced that before. Can I share my screen real quick, Paranoid?
Yeah, of course.
Some slides I could show real quick.
You're scaring me a little bit, Abbie, because I never considered that lucid dreaming had any sort of danger associated with it. So this is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. Is this like if you die in a video game, or like in virtual reality, like Lawnmower Man style, right? Like if you die in the game, you die in real life.
I don't know, because I've died in dreams before, so I've never died in a lucid dream, but I've died in dreams. So I just think that your spirit can wander so far away because, this is what we see as tangible, is this reality right here, but we're reality on top of reality. Like there's like they talk about it in the OA, that all these realities are stacked, so you can wander into a whole other realm where people don't look like people look like ants or whatever, and you could possibly not find your way back.
Yeah, the heart is pretty kinky, it turns out. So it could just like wander off into some other crazy sort of dimension place and just get stuck over there, I guess, is the basic gist of it. Because your heart leaves your body or your soul every night, just like in an astral state, same as the dream. And there's literally an infinite of everything out there. It already exists, right? Like it's like less that we're having to work to manifest or create something, and more just like bringing it from the dream world into the physical world, right?
Have you guys ever heard about them entities? They say they look like the Predator, and they wait for people to be in that state, in the astral state, and then they try to jump in people's bodies. You ever hear of them things? I forget what they're called. But
this is what I was talking about earlier. Well, this is almost like if you're in the astral state and you're out doing, your astral stuff, and your body is down here, there's the alchemical text that would say that you're essentially a homunculus at that point. Like your body on Earth is now this empty like vessel, and it's basically like going and leaving your Kia, parked in downtown Detroit with like the keys in the ignition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it should be experience. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, this whole idea. So one of the 4 gates of dreaming, I want to say it's the 3rd or 4th gate, is to find your physical body with your dreaming body when you're lucid. And I did it, and it was the craziest thing I've ever done. Like, I woke up and I was so happy, and I wanted to tell everybody. And like the people that I told that I thought would be excited for me were like, "Oh, well, that's cool." But I was so pissed because I literally, like, I woke up in a dream. I knew I was dreaming. So I'm lucid and I'm blind though, but I just was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I always have a list of experiments that I'm going to do, like walk through walls, whatever. And so this particular time I was like, go find your body, go find your body. So all of a sudden I feel myself in my bed. I feel my astral body there laying there sleeping. And then I feel myself grab my shoulders, and I shook my body. And so I could feel myself above myself doing the shaking. And I felt my whole body lifting off the bed, shaking too. It was the wildest thing I've ever experienced. So I've done it. I've done this. And it was like, I don't know. It was so profound to me. And then nobody was fucking happy for me. I felt like they were all hating on me, but.
Do you think you could have like shook like one of your kids or your husband or anything?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I think I've done enough of lucid dreaming that I have a little bit of substance to my energetic body now. It's not perfect because I can't always see, so I know that I'm not quite there, but I've developed it pretty far at this point that I was able to shake my physical body with it.
Like, could you punch someone?
I don't see why I couldn't.
That's wild. Just imagine like sending the hitmen after someone in like the astral world, and like
that's
and
what the dream hackers do.
There's no fingerprints, right?
Yeah, I think it happens more than we realize. I think that this shit really is happening.
Inception, are we? Like, if you were to like, I'm sure you've seen the movie Inception at this point.
Of course.
So how close to that? Is that like on the money?
Yeah, right. That's
old news.
Yeah.
Old news.
Unsurprising.
They've been doing this shit. Yeah, the Dream Hackers is a group that formed in the 90s. Okay, so they were just going off of old research. They were literal computer hackers, and they got asked to by some private entity to go through and study dreams, just everything that they could find on dreams, like study and freaking put it in a report for this outside agency. So they took it to all different levels, but they really got into the Carlos Castaneda stuff. And now they're hired, sometimes they work with the with the Americans, the CIA. I want to say it was the FBI, not the CIA, but they do work for the Americans sometimes. But they've been watched by all the 3-letter entities, both the Russian, American, whatever country you want to talk about. So.
And Tommy, you got some slides pulled up. I want to see what your thoughts are on these.
So all right, let me go down to the first one first. So these different stories that Stephen King has had, Dr. Sleep, Stephen King's It, Stephen King, The Institute, it's all about kids with special abilities. That it's called the Shine, right? They have this gift called the Shine. And these entities, well, first of all, in Stephen King, The Institute, it's government agencies that are kidnapping these kids with special abilities, taking them to black sites, and they train them to like focus on a target where they can use like 10 of these kids linked together. And it kind of reminds me of Dr. Sleep, how she says, we are the true knot. So they link their lives together. The entities that are feeding on the children, they actually die here in the physical, but they're still alive. But they don't eat normal food no more. They have to sustain on children's life force. So
They go from being an organic life form to inorganic is basically that idea. But that's also like Stranger Things. I don't know if you guys have watched Stranger Things, but in Stranger Things, the main character, or one of the main characters, 11, they call her L for short. She's numbered because they were kids who were kidnapped or taken from their parents at a young age, and they had either had inherent psychic abilities or they were developed through working with these 3-letter organizations, the government, you know.
And the OA, is it the same?
Project, for real, it is what it was based off of. And that's a real thing. You know, they were really stealing children, these motherfuckers. So they were actually going to name Stranger Things the Montauk Project originally. But yeah, the book, The Institute, is very similar to that. What they were doing with the Montauk Project, very, very similar. They would even kill these kids' whole families, like wipe the whole family out, erase them from existence, so no one knew about them. But in The Shining, that's why that hotel came alive like that, because that kid Danny was so powerful. He had like no one shined like Danny, right? He had such a bright shine. And even in this one, she's targeting this little girl the whole time, but then when she finally meets Danny at the end, she tries to turn him. She wants to tell him, like, look, you can become one of me and live forever. And you know, he doesn't go for it. But I think this is Danny as a little boy, and the dude that trains him, that kind of comes to him in his head and teaches him how to take these entities that are coming after him, because they're attracted just like a moth to a flame because of his shine, his special ability. He makes a box in his head and he learns how to trap them in there. So then in the astral plane, they're locked in there and they can't get out. This guy is the one that's teaching him. And on the bench, he's sitting there breaking down for Danny, like what all took place at the hotel in the original Shining with his dad, how it fed on his dad's darkness. And it said, he told him, you were like a 1,000,000-watt battery when you was in there. He said, he's shining like fire. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, man, because I pay attention to the numbers. So he's shining like fire is 187 in English ordinal, just like the ones who shine is 187. And what do they do with these ones who shine? They kill them. They murder them and feed off of their fears. They feed off of their energetic, that life force that leaves their body. So it's the same theory with, Freddy's really doing it too. He's feeding their loose energy. So is it. It's all that. And who knows what they really are. I call them dream demons. They could be many different things, but we also see certain people with the ability, what I call dream walking, where they can enter other people's dreams and pull people out of nightmares and pull people into their own dreams, but they can also travel throughout the astral plane and actually have physical effects on people in the physical. And the government uses these type of people all the time. Now, with my gematria stuff, I always do these decodings and looking into people's life path numbers, their destiny cards out of the 52 deck of playing cards, their birth card in the tarot deck. Everyone has a specific code attached to them. And even in gematria, your name, it'll all be lined up with your life path number. It's pretty cool when you start to see the synchronicity to it all. That's what makes me really believe we're in some type of a simulation. It has to be. But the people that I always see that usually, you know, when I do the dream interpretations for them, that say they have this dream walking ability, because I've done over 4,000 of them now. So I have a huge database on, you know, what people talk about. And it's crazy to me, but it's usually life path 5s and 3s that have that capability. What they say is dream walking, where they've actually maybe, you know, had a little sister that was having nightmares or something, and they've been able to go into her dream and pull her out of the nightmares. And I don't even think a lot of them are really aware that they have the ability. Honestly, I think they've had, they've had a couple experiences that they're like, man, that was kind of weird. But like anything, if you practice and hone in on that skill, I think you can get really good at it.
You can. And if you have a natural inclination to dream, then you have the skill. It literally is. Because actually, my daughter, she's a natural lucid dreamer as well. So all I have to do is like tell her an experiment, and then she tries it the next time. So she tried to find me in a lucid dream, and the dream told her that I wasn't available. So then it took her to a mermaid instead. So anyway, she woke up the next morning. She's like, man, I tried to find you, but the dreams told me that you weren't available. And I was like, well, yeah, you slept until like 11 and I've been awake for the last 4 hours. So I wasn't there. But then I did it reverse. I actually looked for her in a dream, and I found her, and she was sitting there looking through these blinds and like really freaking out. And I was like, I kept trying to tell her, you're dreaming, wake up. Like, I'm here. This is me. You're dreaming. And she looks at me for just a split second. Like, she got lucid, and she goes, oh, I'm dreaming. And I said, yeah. And like, I thought we connected. I woke up and I talked to her the next day. I said, do you remember me like finding you in the dream and telling you that you were dreaming? I said, you were having a nightmare. And she goes, no, but I don't remember seeing you at all, but I was having a nightmare. So
yeah, that's
Did you mention
crazy.
the blinds too?
Huh?
Did she mention the blinds?
No, she couldn't remember the nightmare. She just remembered the feeling of it. She just remembered like being terrified and having a nightmare. So, but then back to the whole like thing that you were saying about the boy from The Shining or whatever, or with the shine, how we had to put like the bad things, whatever, in a box in his head. You know, that ties in directly to the Monroe Institute and all their meditations. They always have you take a box and put in your head, and take the box and put all your shit in the box while you do the meditation.
Right. Yeah. So he was able to lock these entities in this box. And at the end, he led Rose to the hotel. And then she's like, as she's trying to kill Danny, she cut his artery in his leg. And she's like sticking her finger in there. This is Rose right here. She's sticking her finger in there, pushing down, like causing all the steam to come out of him. And she's eating it, and her eyes are lighting up. And she's like, what's that in there? And because she can see inside of his head, she's a powerful psychic. And she's like, what do you got hidden in there? And she opens the box, and she doesn't realize that they were entities kind of worse than her, and they were starving because they had been in there forever. So that's what destroyed her at the end. These freaking things like ripped her apart. But they go around and they would turn some of these kids with special abilities. And by the way, when you went in your daughter's dream, that's dream walking. So you have that capability. But when they would go to some people and turn them, because they would be so powerful that they would want them to be on their team. Like this girl, she was at the movie theater, and it always has this pedophilic undertone too, the whole thing. So like at the movie theater, this young girl, she's sitting there with this older dude, and he's a pedophile. She's 15 years old. He's like 45, you know, trying to date a 15-year-old. That's a pedo. And she is what is called a pusher. So she's able to whisper to him, and that's why they turned her into one of them, because they needed her. They hadn't seen a pusher in thousands of years. And what a pusher can do is they can whisper things to you and cause you to kill yourself. Or, you know, she says, as she cuts this thing on his face, so every time he looks in the mirror, that when he sees that scar in his face, he'll say out loud, "I'm a pedophile. I like little girls," you know, in front of his wife. She planted that. Yeah, she planted that into his head. And as she's cutting his face to put that mark there, she said, "This doesn't hurt. This doesn't hurt." So she's like, you know, manipulating him. And when she goes outside, the one person, what is his name? The Mexican looking dude, he's one of them evil things. We're just gonna call him Vril. He's one of them Vril things. And he comes out and he has all these special abilities too. He's usually grabbing up the kids, but her power works on him. And that shocked him, because usually the abilities don't work on them. So she made him stop right in his tracks. And then Rose grabbed her. Rose grabbed her arm, and she's like, "You want to let me go," to Rose. And usually someone would let her go because she's a pusher. And Rose is like, "No, I don't want to let you go." Because, you know, she was a very powerful psychic. But the little black girl from the movie, who's like the main character, she's like on a whole nother level of, she's even more powerful than Rose. And they were trying to talk Rose into turning her, but Rose is like, "No, we can't have her in the True Knot." I don't know really why they didn't want to have her in there. It kind of didn't explain that part, but Rose just said she was too powerful. And what they were planning on doing with that little girl, because they would usually kidnap the kids and then torture them and kill them and harvest the steam, right? And then they would keep it in this jar. They would feed on some of it and keep it in the jar. And it could last them like 6 months, a kid per 6 months. And there's like 12 of them or something. But I mean, it's crazy that, you know, to think the real symbolism there is connected to adrenochrome. And when these people are actually murdering children here in the physical to harvest their adrenochrome, which is a real thing, which stops the telomeres in the DNA from withering. So it literally halts aging. There's entities in the physical that are in the astral plane that I believe they're in contact with. Some people call them archons. You know, they've been called many different names: jinn, demons, archons, and they're feeding off of that loose energy that's being let out of the body as it's dying.
Right, you know, as above, so below. So it's adrenochrome on one level and it's the loosh on another level.
Right.
But I think the reason why they didn't pick, I've seen this movie now that you're talking about it more, I know exactly what movie you're talking about. But I also think that the black girls may be too powerful because or like not one of them, because in Castaneda, when they're choosing their lineage, because lineage isn't bloodline. Like we think of lineages usually as bloodline, but when they decide who is going to be a part of their source group, it has to do with your energetic structure. So some people might be like, because Castaneda was given to be like the Nagual, which was like the leader of this particular group of witches or sorcerers, and really like his energy structure didn't match theirs, so they had to find a whole new group for him.
I'm curious, with those coming up in the OA, are the people selected like special in any way, the original group or the group that she ends up putting together at the school? Or is like, could anyone have been kidnapped and put into that underground facility, the OA?
I think that it wasn't. I think that because you remember that the girl who could sing, she could sing. That was like her thing, that her gift that she was given through her NDE. She never got one of the movements. They never got the fifth movement from her. So I think her energy structure never matched, to be honest, because they ended up getting it from an old lady who was dying, who lived nearby.
Yeah, I guess the concept in the OA is that as opposed, or maybe in addition to having like a Danny with like a shine that you would look out, or like an 11 that has some kind of superior ability, in the OA, everyone has some kind of a supernatural ability in that they had near-death experiences and were able to come back from it. And that I guess in some of them, they get like a skill, or they get some like supernatural almost ability or information from like another realm that they can bring back from that near death experience, and that's kind of what makes them special, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because that, like, in reality transurfing, he talks about NDEs, and really, like, the thing about an NDE is that it reminds you your connectedness to God or source or whatever. Like, you're reminded, almost everybody who has an NDE in that moment doesn't feel separate from God. Like, they don't feel like God is here and I'm here. Like, they feel oneness. So they come back with that oneness. And I feel like that's part of the special ability of it all. And because that's the one thing about, you know, the Buddhas and the Christs and all of that, is that they know that they are God. They
Well,
know
you know
that
how they got
they're not separate.
paranoid. You know how you got that picture of her drowning on the front of the thumbnail? Right?
Yeah, well, that's how they would trigger some of that. Is they would put like a little. It was, I guess, a really efficient way. Is they'd put like a little like an astronaut suit, or almost like an old school submarine suit, but then fill
Right.
it up with water, so that at the exact moment, I think this is how it worked, right? That they were intentionally having someone drown so that they could stop and have control over the whole process.
But listen,
But
bro, did you ever remember that podcast where fucking Alex Jones was talking to Joe Rogan, and he's like, yeah, these elites, they took so much DMT and then it stops working. He said, and then they're actually drowning each other and stopping their heart and going into these meetings with these DMT type L's, which he's really talking about archons, and coming out with technology that actually works. And the technology is putting them entities in control, like the black goo, the programmable matter, all this AI shit. It's all tethered to that realm and allowing them to probably end up using the human vessel as an avatar here in the physical, because they're in the lower astral plane known as the eighth sphere. Look into Gigi Young's work on that. She has some phenomenal work. But yeah, that whole drowning thing, you know, Alex was talking about that. How crazy is that, bro?
well, also the movie Flatliners, right? Isn't that from like the 80s or early 90s?
Yep, I used to love that movie.
Do you see a lot of similarities between Flatliners and OA?
I forgot about that, really. But the only difference is that they were all getting like nightmares and getting chased by nightmares in the dream after they had their NDEs. And so, like, and it almost seems like their research was a lot more ethical than HAP in the OA, because they were all willing participants, you know?
Right, but they didn't have the right group, because I guess that's the other part about the OA, right? Flatliners was like the ragtag group of like little rascals that discover NDEs, whereas the OA was, I assume that dude was working for the CIA or something. Like he was working for a bigger organization.
He was working to find the whoosh.
Well, he wanted
to
to
know,
find out how to tap into it, like an energy source almost.
Yeah. And that's where, like, the second season, like, it totally relates to all this Castaneda stuff.
I didn't make it that far yet.
No, I know. We don't have to even get there, but I'm just saying, like, so when I watched this, I had already read Reality Transurfing, which is written by a Russian author, right? And then Owen kind of brought me into the Dream Hackers through a series called The Dream Searchers. And it is fiction, but it's written about the Dream Hackers, and there is a book called Dream Hackers, but it's all written in Lithuanian, who my friend who is Lithuanian actually has been he's been translating for me. And
we can have AI do that in a day. I can have AI translate that whole book for you.
That's awesome. Well, I have the whole PDF in Lithuanian, so
yeah, give it to me. Send it to me. I'll do it, Abbie, and then I'll send it back to you, and then we can share it too in English. So I'll translate it. It will literally take me 10 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, because Google Translate wasn't doing like Lithuanian to English for me. Like I'm sure it worked for him in Europe, but in the United States, it wasn't wanting to recognize Lithuanian. So
Yeah, AI
yeah,
will just do it instantaneously, and then what I'll have AI do is translate it from Lithuanian to English and then turn it into a PDF, and we'll just be able to click on the PDF and read it in English.
that's awesome.
Is this all written in the 90s too, like the Lithuanian books and all the dream hacking, or is this stuff fairly recent?
Well, the Dream Searchers books, there's 2 of them. So it's by Andrei Roitov. This actually tells you, like, it basically tells you that it's written as fiction, probably to change the names of people, but that everything in the book is pretty much real, and that all the experiments they encourage you to try, and they're pretty awesome. Like there's some like very high magic in there as well. But and actually it's funny because I happen to be talking about Carlos Castaneda because I know that was kind of the inspiration for reality transurfing. The first time I ever talked to Owen on the phone. And so he's like, have you ever heard of Dream Searchers? I was like, no, what's that? And then he explained it to me, which is also, the Russians. And so then I got into Dream Searchers and it was like, oh my gosh, this is next level. But then watching the OA, I already had this filter because I read, Castaneda, the Dream Searchers, and Reality Transurfing, and I'm able to see that, oh, this shit is it's all Castaneda. It's all this dream hacker stuff. 100%.
Are we not worried that Owen is importing Russian dream technology into the States? That almost sounds like it could be like a problem here, man.
Yeah, you should see my passport, dude. I look totally like a Russian spy.
I want to see your dream passport, my friend. I don't care about your normal mundane passport.
Hey, I'm not walking into anybody's dreams, man. That's not, no, but it is crazy. I don't know how this stuff finds us, but ultimately what we have found is that it has roots in Toltec mysticism, which is not really geographical. More, it's something that's been around in many places, may have to do with the building of the pyramids. Everybody wants to say it's aliens. I'm not saying it wasn't, but
when you say Toltec, I mean the only information I know from Toltec, aside from some crazy sacrificial rites, I won't get into those, but the Toltec also was the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah. So does that link into dreaming somehow? Because I know he talks about Maya as being like a shared illusion, but then it gets into like, don't lie and keep your word, and I can't remember the 4 Agreements. Does that mean I'm like a horrible person?
Embrace the angel of death or whatever. And really he's just taking Carlos Castaneda's work, regurgitating it and putting it in a different format. And Shots it's great. Fired. And I've listened to I love it. I've listened to the 4 Agreements on audiobook. I listen to it a couple times a year because it's really good. So, but his, like, what was the first one you mentioned? Oh, it's because one of the biggest things that a sorcerer is supposed to do is to, gosh, why can I not think of the right word? Never mind. Go ahead, y'all. I'll think of it in a minute.
Well, I was leading to.
Abbie, have you ever seen Freddy Krueger? The what's it called? I think it's the 3rd one. Dream Warriors.
My favorite. Yes, my favorite.
Mine too. I love that one. And so like they're kind of lucid dreaming, and then they end up having these abilities. The one dude's a magician, the one guy's extra strong. What was the one girl? She's like a badass with knives. They all have these special abilities. They all end up getting, Freddy takes them all. Who ends up beating Freddy in that one? I can't remember. Do you remember which one it was?
I think it's the girl at the end and she takes sleeping pills or something, or was that the number 4?
Oh, yeah, the wizard. I thought the wizard was going to get him. The wizard was whooping him for a minute, and then Freddy just fucked that wizard right up. But do you ever notice there's a pedophilic undertone to all of it with these dream demons? We have that same feeling. Dr. Sleep, Freddy was a pedophile, wasn't he?
Well, I just have to say that was retconned. He originally was not necessarily a bad guy. Like what really happened is that the town turned on Freddy and burnt him in his house. and the town was at fault, and that's why he was kind of like cursing them and haunting them. But in
so
like
wait a
the
second,
remake, they
was
make it. That was in the remake. That was in like the reboot of the series. They frame it that way. But the OG Freddy, like the Dream Warrior Freddy, this was actually a guy that was kind of had cursed the town because they had wrongfully killed him, not because they falsely accused him of something that didn't happen. But I think they
you
retconned
sure?
that in the remake.
Yeah, I didn't like
always
it when they did that because I always kind of liked Freddy, and then they turned him into a pedophile. I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah, but there's something there with that. Why
There
they're doing
is
that.
though. It made sense because why else would
There's-
they want to murder him?
And-
but
and
the word I was
it's-
looking for. Oh, go ahead.
It goes into satanic ritual abuse and the government. Like, this stuff might sound conspiratorial, but it's real, man. They really do trauma-based mind control shit where they get these kids to dissociate. You know what I'm saying? And will shatter them into they'll do that. Like, they'll have this one person that's like a handler, right? And then the other person comes in and torments the child. The handler always comes in and saves the kid. So every time they'll do this for a while, maybe a year. Then the one day, how you get the kid to shatter its whole reality is so the handler comes in on this day, and instead of saving the child, it's the one that violates the kid too. And then that shatters its whole reality. And each, like, the little shattered fragments can be programmable alter egos. And one alter ego can have no memories of the other alter ego. You can have one that's like a literal trained assassin. And you can read CIA documents where they were really trying shit like this. They were really, having children with abilities and trying psychic stuff, remote viewing. The stuff is crazy that you can find on the CIA's website that's declassified. So it's not conspiratorial. Just look into, MK Ultra, which was public. A lot of people know about that. I mean, it goes beyond the LSD.
Well, that's where you can use nightmares, because nightmares are usually a soul fragment. It's some part of yourself that's been freaking fragmented off, like split off. So whether it's through trauma or whatever, purposeful or just random because you just denied a part of yourself at some point. But nightmares generally are a soul fragment. It's a piece of you that you need to reintegrate. So that's what I've found, and that's what I've helped my daughter because she had PTSD. So the thing that I found is that when I have these nightmares, you can literally you don't necessarily have to be lucid. You're just sort of semi-lucid. Like, you have an idea that you're dreaming. So you turn around and you look at your nightmare and you ask if it's ready to come back, or what are you trying to teach me? If you ask it what it's trying to teach you, what I've found is that it usually just kind of it forgets the script and doesn't know what to do. So then it's all of a sudden it's not chasing you or trying to kill you anymore. But what I've found is that when you ask if it's ready to come back, then all of a sudden it does something really weird. When I do it, I usually end up having sex with it, no matter what it is. My soul is that's how it reintegrates. It does it through sex dreams. But my daughter, when she's reintegrating something, a nightmare now, she hugs it and pulls it back into her, and then she'll have a weird memory pop up when it does.
Oh, that's crazy. You have sex with it, huh?
Yeah.
That's bizarre. What, how does that reintegrate it? Can you break that down for me?
You're pulling it back into yourself, man. I'm a female. That makes perfect sense.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So
are there 5 movements for integrating?
Feels good. Why not do it that way? Shit.
Yeah.
And I wanted, because we're at an hour, and I wanted to mention this whole movement thing, because this is the part that when I first saw the OA, it kind of lost me, and I was just kind of giggling a little bit, and I thought it was silly.
Because it's
and
weird,
there was,
right?
Meme. Well, there was a meme online that I absolutely related to, because I had remembered seeing this scene, and it's with the Phyllis from The Office is doing a dance with a bunch of students in a cafeteria, and they're putting hand signs up. I'll find a screenshot of it. But someone and there's a school shooter that comes up and starts firing at the school, and they all get up and they start doing these movements, and it's really dramatic. And the meme was just I I changed my mind. Just let them all die. Like, just let the shooter just like take them out because it's so freaking annoying. And I remember, like, I know what that felt like because that's kind of what I felt like. Was like, you know, these people are kind of freaking me out in like a bad way, like not in a fun way, and in like a kind of a very cringy way. And that's where I couldn't get over.
Yeah, you're like
and
embarrassed, kind of like, are you kidding me? What the fuck?
I absolutely, yeah, secondhand embarrassment. I see them doing this in front of all these people, especially in the middle of a freaking school shooting, and I got like this crazy, you know, secondhand embarrassment for it. But then Abbie was showing me that these were like legit moves from an actual like I'll say dream hacking just to simplify it, but like a dream hacking manual that like what is the 5 movements? Like, what are is it Carlos
there's a lot more than
Castaneda?
5. Yeah, there's a lot more than 5 movements. They're called magical passes, and another word that he calls for is tensegrity, because tensegrity has to do with architecture and, you know, the structure and everything. But he goes into the magical passes. You can find some of the videos on YouTube, and they look crazy, a little cultish, but these are freaking sorcerers. So, and they're a tight, for lack of a better word, a coven, you know. And they practice these movements that like help stir up energy and freaking, because the whole idea is that you have to have energy and you only have a limited amount because you let it freaking be taken from you in all these different ways. But he goes through them in a lot of different books, like the way that you're supposed to, like a sorcerer never holds his hand like cupped like this, like that's a beggar's hand. A sorcerer always has very tight tendons, and like if somebody's handing you something, your hands will be really flat and open, and all the tendons in your hands should be tense.
No, is that like a power move too?
Yeah, but it in more the way than one, you know. When you're walking, like you should never have things in your hands. You should always have your hands both available, and like your fingers like curled in a certain way, like when you're walking. I don't even know that I'm doing it right. But
is there a rule for like if your hands are in your pockets or not? Is that like a no-no?
Yeah, you should be ready. You should always be ready.
Yeah.
To fight, to catch yourself, whatever. You know what I'm
like
saying?
Wu-Tang
So yeah,
rules.
you don't want but they do these movements, and I want to liken them to Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is this same idea, right?
So here's some. I'll just skip around to some of them. But yeah, this is like, these are straight out of the OA, right? This is exactly what the movements
It's
that they're
very
doing.
similar. I mean, they're
Like,
probably doing
what is
something
this
different.
doing for me? Like, if I'm going out and I'm doing this, does this do something, or do you have to do all 5 of the movements for any of it to work, or like do these on their own have some sort of an impact?
Each on their own has an impact, and you don't have to necessarily do them in a group, you know. But
this is actually how Biz Markie achieved some of his better songs. No, the Biz Markie reference. But yeah, so is this the real 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the OA, or did they like change it up a little bit?
Well, they changed it up a little bit, but that's where they're getting it from, these movements, because the way he talks about these when Don Juan is teaching them to Carlos is that they're not only like just passed down in the Toltecs, they're in almost every ancient culture, and because almost every ancient culture has dances, so they've always been integrated as a part of the dances, ritual dances. So there's certain movements in there that are literally to create a certain type of energy. So I would say even the Native American dances, you know, that they do with the drums and everything, all of those have magical passes in them. So it's integrated into a lot of it. So these seem ridiculous, like the movements on the OA seem ridiculous, but they're based on Carlos Castaneda. And I know because the more that you get into like season 2 and stuff, it's all Dream Hackers and Carlos Castaneda shit, all of it.
If you don't have an arm, are you screwed? Like, can you just not do it?
Well, you might not have as much energy as the next guy, but maybe you don't need as much either because you have one less arm.
I wonder if like ghost limbs can still participate in this.
I think so.
Because I mean, and not even in jest, because that's one of the things that Rene Descartes used as his example of why the pineal gland was the seat of the soul. He actually used ghost limbs as an example, and he said that if you were to take someone's arm off, they still feel it. Like there's still almost like a spiritual remnant of it. And if you take their other arm off and then you take both of their legs off, you could keep taking pieces off of a person up until you get to like the most vital of organs in the head, right? So he kind of surmised that if you did that, you don't have any less soul in you and you don't have any less knowledge. If someone were to take all your arms and all your legs, you would still have the same amount of soul. 100% of you is still there, and therefore the soul cannot live in any of your extremities. So that he kind of like kept moving it inward and inward to the point where it had to be in the pineal gland, because it was like the most center aspect of the brain that the soul could potentially go in. And if you ever were to take that away, I don't know. I don't know what the final math of all of this was, but that the ghost limbs, they do like still kind of exist in a weird way, because like your soul has a memory of where that arm used to be. And because the lack of the arm doesn't mean that the soul left, it still knows like a childhood house you grew up in that got knocked down and now it's like a Walmart. Like you still remember it. If you drove by, you would still kind of, I guess, feel the energy from like the childhood house, even if it's gone. It's kind of like the ghost limb aspect.
Well, because if you had, well, you're born into this world like with just your freaking soul. Like you don't have consciousness. Like consciousness is something that you're acquired through language. And it's funny because we're just like regurgitating the shit we just read this week for Transurfing Safari. But so anyway, but that goes back to finding your energy body. Your energy body, once it's perfected, it has all its limbs and it exists. It's the same thing as like the whole aura. We weren't trained as children to look at auras or to see people's auras or to even know that they existed. But if we had been, we'd probably be really good at seeing them, because science has proven that there is this energetic field around your body. So we know that it's true, that it's there, that it exists, and probably some people can see them. But we have been taught through our consciousness and through words and what we were conditioned to believe and see in the world. And so that's not something we were ever taught had value. But
hey,
the energetic body exists.
Video off there, buddy. You're gonna get my Facebook or striked. You can't share another person's YouTube video on my Facebook, bro.
Okay, I click around to different frames.
Yeah, but you can't just play the video. You're gonna get me striked again. Damn, bro.
Why do they all have the same haircut? Do you think that's part of it, or is that just because they are like Scandinavian or something? You notice that?
They're Toltec, man.
So the 5 different movements, I was also wondering, like, can they just come up with another, like season 3? They're like, actually there's 6, actually there's 7.
Why not? But that's when they're explaining like the movements, and he's like saying like, no, you need to make it tighter. You need to do it like, so it's the same idea. Like you just see her in the video, like kind of like tightening up her hands and stuff. But the thing is to always have your tendons super tight. Like, so none of the movements are supposed to be done just softly. They're like, should always be really tense. So it's funny because they even talk about that in the show, in the OA.
Yeah, you got to show frame by frame, brother. You can't just play someone else's video.
I'm just freeballing here, man. I'm going on Rumble.
I get it. I'm not trying to lose my Facebook page where I got 250,000 people on.
Wow. Oh, what was this one? Is this Illuminati confirmed?
Perhaps.
Like it.
Or Illuminati trying to take some shit from them. They're using some energy stirring movements.
Do you think any of this could be weaponized?
Anything that can be used for good can be weaponized, right?
Well, I mean, like if you were to start doing these movements, let's say you mastered the magical movements, like I'm just wondering, like, what powers does this give? Because in the show, it's like they can bring someone back to life, someone that got shot, all of a sudden they're alive again. That's what they kind of perceive, or that's what they portray these movements as doing. But I wonder, is that just like a simplified example that's nice and flashy for a television show, or is that like the actual ability that's kind of ascribed to if you were to master these? Could you just like bring the family dog back to life?
The Necronomicon.
I mean,
well, I think it's really more about like increasing consciousness, really. Like it sounds probably simplified, but really that's really what I think a lot of these exercises, that's the benefit of it, right? Like you're becoming more aware of your dreams. You're becoming more aware of this energy body. And one of the things that Derek Condit says of mystical wares, and I love the way how simple and like down to earth he is like, you know, we think about auras and energy bodies and all this kind of stuff, and can you see it or whatever, but it's really more about perceiving than it is like actually seeing a, you know, aura or like a what have you. It's really about like just digging into your own senses, your sensibilities, your intuition, your like deeper feelings. And that, I think that's the real. Now in the OA, they're like shifting timelines with these dances. Like they're going to different realities. That's the premise. But
wouldn't you have to stir up enough energy to do that too?
Yeah,
to open a portal to another dimension.
And
so.
I mean, yeah, if we did shift, then that would actually alter the whole course, present, future, and past, right? Like, so that's a whole, you know, that's a rabbit hole on its own. So yeah, so that, but I think on a practical level, the point of doing these types of exercises is, as Abbie said, when we're born into this world, we don't really have consciousness, we develop it. You know, and so if we can continue to develop it and grow it, then we'll be able to be capable of more, you know, have more control and power, you know, internal power, right? Like not power over other people, but just a stronger awareness, a deeper awareness, the ability to control your dreams, to connect in new ways.
Your reality.
Yeah.
Like if you literally had enough power, personal power, and enough. And I don't even want to say belief, because belief is the wrong word, because belief is like faith, and faith is kind of powerless. If you have knowing, then why couldn't you shift timelines? Why couldn't you go to a whole different reality? So like some of the movements, like on the video, I don't know if you saw her, she was doing like this, because he says that you have all these dormant spots of energy that, like, you know, between your fingers, even areas that we don't use anymore, areas that we don't access or we see no value to, but you have energy stored in all these little places. And like everybody talks about the chakra system and like the 7 chakras. Well, you have chakras all throughout your body. Those are just like energy plexuses, like a whirl of energy, and they exist all over your body. But there's so many areas where it just lays dormant, like the webbing between your fingers. So this is literally just stirring up your own personal energy so you can have unbending intention. And what that's the word I was looking for earlier, was impeccability. That goes back to the 4 agreements, because one of the biggest things that Don Juan talks about in the Castaneda books is that a warrior has impeccability. And impeccability isn't the same as being like sinless. It has nothing to do with sinning or not sinning. It has to do with when you have an intention, you completely see it through. You're impeccable. Like you're going to do exactly what you set out to do. That there's no way it's not going to happen. It's not the same as faith. It's being impeccable.
In the movements here, it almost sounds like we're describing like a special energy meter in like a fighting game. And like once you build up enough energy, then you get to decide like what the special move is going to be. So maybe in the OA it was save a life or jump to another dimension.
Yep.
But I guess the actual event that you cause to happen with your intention, once you build that energy up, is more based on what you want to do with it, right? So that would be the weaponized aspect of it.
Back to the simulation of it all, right? The AI simulation of it all. It really is. I love it.
Are you, or should anyone be concerned if they like develop, like you were talking about dream walking, which sounds like an advanced level, right? That's after, you know, you go through a few of the different introductory courses. Do you worry that that puts you on like a list? Like there could be some CIA dreamwalker radar, or that's like, oh, what's that over there? Oh, there's some, you know, chick that's in the dream world. Let's go and look into that, especially if these people are coveted by the military for any reason. Does it put you on a list?
They're all on lists. Yeah, it puts you on a list, and then it puts you on a list where like you'll have what's it called? The the people that come in and pretend to be your friend and stuff, and what's it called? I can't think of the right term for it. Yeah, your handlers. It brings in handlers for sure.
It reminds me too that a way of like indigo children. Sorry, what was that, Tommy?
So you got to watch out for them fuckers.
Oh yeah.
They try to infiltrate in your life. There's more of them than you know, too. And the bigger you get and the further your reach goes, they'll really start to come to you. So you got to just be careful, because they're good. They're good at pretending to be your friend and doing some real other shit. I think we deal with it a lot more than we think. I got this weird thing on Facebook right now. It says Tommy Truthful's chat bot. When did that start happening? Facebook employs chat bots in our I never made that thing.
I wonder if it just analyzes like all the comments you've ever posted.
I mean,
and it's just like, I'm Tommy now.
No, it's telling people to go visit my site, so that's cool. But I just wonder how it's doing that and like who employed that thing. You know what I mean? I don't remember employing it.
It's in the 800 pages of small print.
Yeah, it says Tommy Truthful's chat bot. I don't know where that came from, but I guess Facebook's doing it, which is kind of weird.
Do you how close do you think OA is to something that's actually happening, all the way down to like an underground facility right now with some dude that's kind of like seeing it all? Do you think that these are legit happening, or do you think this is also old news? This is like Inception old news.
What, like the person seeing
The
things? Are you talking
premise of
about like,
OA, where they have, my understanding is it's like an underground facility. It looks like a house in the middle of nowhere. It's like out in the middle of like a forest or something, far away from civilization, right? And then once you go into the house, there's a basement, and if you go down into the basement, and like I think it's like they move a cooler or something, and then that leads to another subterraneous area where all these people are being held and like trained, I guess, right? Like that's sort of,
I bet there's thousands and thousands of them places.
I think anything that we can conceptualize exists. And I mean, maybe not in this realm, but on another one, on another dimension, it all exists, I would say.
They're trying a lot of things in this realm, our government. So if they put it in a movie, you can guarantee they tried it in reality.
It's disclosure,
dozens
right?
of them, dude. Dozens of these these places, right? There's not just one.
Yeah, they're probably everywhere. There's probably one next door to you, Paranoid.
All of them is Orlando, so it wouldn't be underground, I don't think, but it's probably a Disney World if there is one.
Well, there's definitely some pedophiles around there. That's for sure. down in your area. Are you going to that Sam Tripoli thing?
Yeah, that's on the March 30th. I think it's in like around the Ocala area. It's a place called Joke Joint.
Yeah, Donut was trying to talk me into going down there, but I'm not driving no 14 hours. That ain't happening. And
yeah, that's a long, man. I mean, I would assume that you'd probably fly, but I don't fly either.
Oh, no.
I don't get on planes.
Dude, I do not fly, bro.
Wow.
Last time I flew, I almost had a heart attack. It was the worst flight. Like the whole time I was just praying to get me on the ground. I don't handle it well at all. My mom used to put me on a plane when I was little to go back and forth to New York to see my dad. And then I come back to Ohio where my mom was. And I think it traumatized me for real, because they put me on there when I was like 5 to fly by myself. And back then they would have like a stewardess that would come sit with you, but she never paid attention to you. She didn't give a shit. You know, she sat you down and then she was dipping probably off, giving the pilot a hand job. Who knows where she was, but she wasn't.
Probably chain smoking cigarettes on the plane.
Giving the pilot a reach around. I don't know. But this one time, dude, I almost got snatched up too. And this dude tried to get me to go in the bathroom with him. But I was a smart kid. I wasn't dumb. I wasn't.
Oh my God, that's scary.
Yeah, I was like 6 years old, and he was trying to lead me off into the bathroom. I'm like, bro, you got me fucked up. I ain't going in there with you.
That's scary as hell.
Although it probably is still a privilege to meet Kevin Spacey in real life.
Yeah, Kevin. Why did Kevin take somebody in the bathroom?
No, I mean that's what the rumors have been. I don't think anything has outright come out, but even like dating back to like old Family Guy skits where Stewie, I think there's a scene where Stewie like breaks out somewhere and he's like please help, I just escaped from, you know, Kevin Spacey's basement. And it was like a deep cut, bro. Yeah, it's like it was one of those like soft disclosure things. Like everyone on the inside knows, but nothing's
Like
gonna really happen. He
like
was on
Harvey
the flight logs
Weinstein,
too, man. He
dude.
was Kevin Spacey was on the flight that Chris Tucker was on. That everyone's always like, oh man, Chris Tucker was on the Epstein flight logs. It was him and Kevin Spacey, and they were all going to Haiti, I believe.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. When the Clintons were down there too, dude, all these kids came up missing, and now Haiti has all these gang leaders running it, which they, you know, if you believe what the media says, they say that they're cannibalizing people and shit. And the guy's name leading the whole crusade is Jimmy Barbecue. I swear to God, his name is Jimmy Barbecue, dude. But which his name equals 223, matching skull and crossbones. And, you know, so I believe he's an asset. And they just discovered a bunch of gold down there, billions of dollars worth of gold. Now, all of a sudden, boom, you know, they're overthrowing the country. And watch, mark my words. The next thing we'll notice is major fires break out in Haiti, guys. And, you know, they just released that new directed energy weapon, Dragon Fire. So I believe that's what they did to Lahaina. I believe they burnt that shit. And I believe that's what they did to Chile, too. I don't think them were natural fires.
Do you think they're going to switch the blue ray to, like, you know, something else, like to where your blue roofs don't protect you anymore? It's going to be green now or something?
I don't know. I don't know if that's even a thing. You know, that's some shit they talk about on the internet. Could be a total bullshit. But there is something to an actual laser beam not detecting blue. But they got weapons now that don't use laser beams. They have plasma weapons. Plasma don't give a shit what color you're under. You know what I'm saying? It's going to burn you. They got plasma weapons. So I don't think they're using old style direct energy weapons like that anymore. That's my personal opinion on it, though. I think like this.
I was gonna say there's a really interesting video on YouTube called like the invention of the blue LED, or it's something like that. If you just search, it's a little mini documentary, but it blew my mind because the blue LED was the hardest one to make, and essentially the blue LED can contain all the other colors. Like even when you have like a bright white LED light that is ubiquitous at this point, like anytime you see an LED light somewhere, it's basically a blue LED. They just put a special coating on it that filters out all colors, you know, except for the ones that it needs to project. But even the white ones are essentially blue LEDs behind the scenes. So I think there's a little bit of link to the blue color actually being special in this regard versus like shifting to red or shifting to green, because those ones don't have the same amount of energy in them, like at an actual like electrical level.
Yeah, no, there is something there with the laser beam anyways, but I'm just saying they like if they're, dude, I got a whole theory what I think they're doing with these bitches, with these direct energy weapons. And the dude's name is Jimmy Barbecue. Like that's playing on, we're in the year of the fire dragon, the wood dragon. So did you see the new Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live? The whole cover is on fire. There's this fire motif going on right now. And I'm telling you, bro, they're planning on barbecuing some motherfuckers. They use certain computer systems to track, trace, and tag certain people that I believe they deem a threat, right? People that stand for freedom of speech, like that whole Q thing. You guys remember that shit? Abbie, QAnon, remember that?
Of course, yep.
That was
we'll never be able to forget.
It was a quantum computer named Tyler, the real thing, and it was a total AI. It was to track, trace, and tag people. So they weaponized them hashtags. People that were sharing the hashtags, where we go, all we go one, and all this bullshit. You share that, the AI recognizes you. Now it knows exactly who you are. And I believe their targeting system is on another level. So imagine if you're trying to roll out these smart cities, this one world government, and you're at war with the American people without them knowing it. You know, you got to find out who all your resistance would be, right? And that's the easiest way to do it. Run a psyop like that. Let's find out who the people are that don't like the shit we do, like molest children. So let's find out who they are. Boom. And that's what they did. I really believe that.
Well, wait
Even
till we
on the
get into
side,
the OA season 2, because the people who play this video game in it are called Q. They're called like
Are you serious?
they're Q
well,
kids.
listen to
Yes,
this.
it's a
The
season.
D-Wave quantum computer, the first one, it was not the first one, the one that came out in 2017, right around the time when Q got real famous, but it was out about 3 years prior to that. That's just when it went public. It was the Q, the 2000 Q is what it was called, a D-Wave quantum computer. Now they're on this Advantage one, but QAnon equals 666. I mean, when you look at the numerology connected to it, it's all connected to D-Wave and CERN. It's definitely an AI. 110% that shit's an AI. But Paranoid, before we wrap this up today, I want to show the people something on Jimmy Barbecue. I just want to show you guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm downloading the PDF because we did a members only last night, me and Donut, and it was phenomenal. I think it's one of the best podcasts we did, for real. And you can go on truthmafia.com, become a made member. It's $8.88 a month. Make sure if you want to get your personal decode too and find out your role in this simulation, maybe you have some of these dream walking abilities. You can get that down below as well. But here, let me pull this up. I want to show you guys this on old Jimmy Barbecue real quick, what this guy's name's all about. Hold on 1 second. Okay, now, you already got my thing open?
Yeah, you're cooking.
Oh, okay, cool. So here, let me blow this full screen real quick. All right, this is called Gematria for Abbie. I know you probably are like, what the hell is this guy talking about with these numbers? It comes from
I know all about it.
Right. So we're in a simulation. We are 100%. Once you start to learn, you can even find things with your name, like the hospital you were born with. It'll have synchronicity connected to your mother's name. And once you start finding this code, it's crazy. And once you're aware of it, it really starts popping out at you. So you can really see what things are really connected to, what's the true agenda to them. And it's not like someone's there making all the numbers match up. It's an organic source code, but they do know how to hack it. Just like we're talking about hacking dreams, these bitches know how to hack this matrix that we're in and shift the energy. So this guy, Jimmy Barbecue, his full name is 223 in English ordinal, matching electromagnetic pulse, global currency reset, and that's the number of skull and crossbones. Well, that's an ordinal, which A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. And that reverse cipher, reverse ordinal, which would be the alphabet in reverse, depopulate the sheeple is 322, right? Depopulate the sheeple. And then that high electromagnetic pulse, I was thinking HARP and the whole 223 thing. Well, HARP was patented on 8/11 of 1987, which is the 223rd day of the year. And then high active auroral research program is 223. So I think with this name, that whole barbecue motif, they're planning on some major directed energy weapon shit. And if you guys see, I just put up a new video on truthmafia.com that my boy Greg Reese did. It's on the fires in Texas and his theory on what's going on with that as well. Because I can almost guarantee it that we're going to hear that Haiti caught on fire. Watch. And it's going to be, just go look at the fires in Texas. We have the same things that happened in Lahaina. Why are all the trees there? But cars are burnt. Anything metal, any house is gone. If it has electricity in it, metal, it burns up from the directed energy weapon. But anything organic, like a tree, is still there. Because I guess that it doesn't have an effect on it the way it does, something that has, like a house that has all the electrical wires in the wall. It really burns stuff like that right up. Then there's another theory on it. People think it might be the plasma apocalypse. You ever hear about that, Abbie?
Oh yeah, we had Jay Dreamers on the Secret Society of Good Guys a couple weeks ago, so he talked about it.
Right. So some people think that that event's taking place, and that's what's all burning up everything, and then there's other people that believe it's Nibiru. and we're on an elliptical orbit with this other sun. Me personally, I think it's all a simulation. So most likely,
Agreed.
it's kind of what my theory with it is. It's kind of like a computer with factory reset. If it is a plasma apocalypse like Jay talks about, that's a simulation's way of wiping of the board, starting over. Kind of when you get too much data, you got to factory reset the bitch, right? So we go through, Archaics talks about this thing called the Phoenix phenomenon. And he says it's cyclical, like happens between, I think he said 138, like every 138 years you'll have small ones, but then in numbers like 138 times 3, which equals 4 something, I forget what he said, but then you'll have like these big ones where we have these major global resets, and it seems like all civilizations collapse. There's a lot of evidence pointing to something's going on there, where we see the Younger Dryas when all that collapsed. Egypt, it seems like everybody just disappeared, right, out of nowhere. And maybe we are the survivors, or our ancestors were the survivors of some type of event like that, which is just really the simulation's way of factory resetting everything. So a small percentage of the populace survives. Maybe, sometimes they said it would take out 70%, 80%. And that's just like when you wipe your computer clean. When you factory reset it, you might keep some of the files, right? But wipe out everything else. That's the way I think of it. And I think we're going through that right now. I think people that don't raise their frequency and raise their vibration, it's going to destroy you, because you're not going to raise your frequency to match the changing frequency, the energy that is rising. So you'll probably die in a very tragic way, and some people will survive it. That's my theory on the whole thing anyways.
It's funny because I totally believe in this. Like, I came to the idea of simulation without hearing somebody say it's simulation theory. It was what it was. Like, just the whole, it's all coded. Everything's coded. If you get down into the whole sacred geometry of it all, it's coding. And that's, and if you're a Bible thumper, you can really get into the whole heaven and hell being a part of the simulation as well. Like, this is a simulation, and then you go where you go, right? So,
they get mad at you for saying that, Bible thumper. I said that once, and they almost killed me for saying that. I meant no disrespect. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't believe in organized religion, but I do believe in a creator. I believe source, which I just don't look at God like he's a human up on a cloud telling me I'm going to get punished and shit. You know what I mean? I don't look at it like that. I look at it what it most likely really is. And hell, maybe we can put ourselves in a version of hell, our own hell, which is all connected to our karma, right? So I think it also, depending on how you die, it takes, so if you die like really tragically, I think it takes longer for you to reincarnate. And there's the numbers with this is very fascinating. When I was doing all these readings, I started finding out like all these weird little connections. So like life path ones, when you look at the numbers, reincarnate equals 108, right? In English ordinal gematria, reincarnate is 108. So a life path 1, if you read the oldest text, they say that you would reincarnate 6 times as a male, 6 times as a female. And I think that makes sense with the whole duality of it all. Everything has sacred feminine, sacred masculine, positive, negative. And so that would make sense if you reincarnate 6 times as a male, 6 times as a female, and then the math works. So if you're life path 1, you would have one of them cycles, which is 12 reincarnations. If you're a life path 2, you would have 2 of them cycles, which is 24 total reincarnations. If you're a life path 3, like me and Paranoid, you would have 3 of them cycles, which is 36 reincarnations, and old souls equals 36. Then you would finish as a life path number 9 with a total of 108 reincarnations. That's when you come to the end of your cycle. you know, and the math lines up the whole way through. What it equals in gematria lines up with it to the equation. So there's got to be something there. You know what I mean? Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 9 times 12 is 108. So that would be 12 of them cycles, and reincarnate equals 108. I don't know. Definitely something to think about. The people that I don't think that counts for is like people that have a life path that's a master number. So your master numbers are 11, 22, and 33. And then people are what they talk about as like maybe a master teacher or ascended master, and they've came back, you know, thousands and thousands of times. But that's just a theory of mine through the math and the gematria. But it definitely lines up. So I found that from doing these like readings on people, I started noticing patterns, and I started writing things down and keeping track of it. And like I would notice certain people that were like a life path 3, right? The life path 3 is the only life path number that your birth cards in the tarot deck, you can have 2 different matches. Like my birth card is the Hangman and the Empress. So the Hangman is the 12th card, 1 + 2 is 3. And then the Empress, the 3rd card, which comes back to my life path number. Paranoid American is the World card in the Empress, which is the 21st card in the tarot deck, and the 3rd card, which both of them, 2 + 1 is 3. It still comes back to his life path number. And you'll see that 3 synchronicity throughout Paranoid American's whole code. You'll notice it with everything. And I don't know. Do you know what your life path is, Abbie?
I think I'm a 4. I'm not sure, but I think I'm a 4.
Someone's asking, how do you find your life path number if you don't know it?
Well, tell me, what's your birth date, Abbie? Yeah, if you don't.
Can I type it in the private chat?
Yeah, you can type it in the private chat. I forgot you ain't supposed to really ask a woman that, are you?
Oh, I don't care, but I mean, I don't know if I want everybody to know my birthday or, you know, my personal information.
I'll just tell you.
Your birthday's today. Happy birthday, Abbie. That's crazy.
It's my unbirthday today. I don't celebrate birthdays. We celebrate all the 364 days between.
Okay, so let's figure. Well, if it is a 4, I'm gonna break that down for you. 1 + 2 +. You want to reduce this down to the lowest. So, hold on a second. 1 + 2 + 2 + 1 + 7. Let me stop saying it out loud.
I was like, well, what was the point of putting in the private chat? It's okay.
There we go. Okay, so damn, that would make sense too. You ain't no 4, you're an 11.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, 47, which is 11. So you're a master number.
Did you say 47?
Yeah. It equals 47.
How's episode 47 with Thomas?
Yeah, the 47. That's a very magical number too. 47. Very magical number. The 47-degree Masonic compass. There's a reason they use these certain numbers. And Tetragrammaton is 47, which has to do with, in Judaism, Aton is this Egyptian sun god, but they say that's the name of the god in Judaism, Tetragrammaton. So really, I guess they're praying to Aton when it boils down to it. But yeah, that number 11 as a life path 11, that probably is why you have all them abilities too with dream walking. You see that master numbers 11s, 22s, 33s, they usually have high psychic capabilities, experience a lot of stuff like that. Telepathy, telekinesis, stuff like that. You'll hear with them type of life path numbers. Life path 3s are very artistic. They're very creative. And both me and Paranoid both express ourselves artistically a lot. We're always creating stuff. I do it for a living. You really do it for a living too, bro. You're creating comic books, all your stuff. I mean, you're a perfect example of a life path 3. You know what I mean?
It's wild too, because I remember growing up, I would ask people, like as a kid, ask people what their favorite number was, and I guess it was a weird question because a lot of people are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, I don't have a favorite number. Like, it's a weird thing to have a favorite of, but I just, for whatever reason, I just knew my favorite number was always 3. And I
Mine
don't know
too.
why.
Mine too, bro. Now it's 36 because I know what that means. But it was always 3 when I was little. And I never knew why either. I had a favorite color and a favorite number. What was your favorite color? Did you have a favorite color growing up?
Mine started as green.
Mine was red. And then now when I find out, when I decoded myself through gematria, I have matching numerology with red and yellow. And I use it all the time in my life. And this is way before I ever knew any of that, you know? I'm like, damn, maybe that's why I use it so much. And it kind of just makes you wonder, is there free will or is it all coded and it was all meant to happen the way it's happening? You know, it makes you question that a little bit. Which ultimately I do think there's free will. I've tried to do experiments to prove it, but then I don't know. Maybe that was all meant to happen, though. Who knows?
Well, that's honestly, this episode was cool to me because the OA and what we were talking about all represents like weird ways that you can experiment. And like, for example, like the birth path number, if you actually think that it has some sort of practical use or gives you some extra insight, like actually experiment with it, like do some like scientific kind of based tests, which is what I feel like OA was about. And I feel like that's what this Russian dream hacking is about. It's about just not winging it, but to like sit down and come up with a plan. And it's like, when I see this thing, do this, or like Abbie, the fact that you've got a list of things that you like walk through a wall, or like all these different tasks that you've got in front of you that I assume they like escalate in complexity. Like that's the kind of thing that you can maybe use to actually hone some inherent, I guess, we're calling it supernatural. I'll call it supernatural ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And speaking of walking through walls, paranoid, remember when I found that document where the government was really like, they got a patent, Abbie, where they can train you to walk through freaking walls. Remember we did that podcast, bro? And it's on my website, the patent.
I gotta throw this out here. This is literally the name of Marina Abramovic's book is called Walk Through Walls.
Yeah, and check this out. So Paranoid was like, "Well, Tommy, have you walked through a wall? Because I don't care. I don't care if someone laughs at me. I'll keep trying it and try to see if I can do it. You know, I want to know if it's possible." And no, I have not been able to walk through a physical wall. I've walked into it numerous times and bashed my head, which I think it's because I'm scared of the wall. But what it has taught me how to do is when I'm in REM sleep now, I can walk through walls. And I never was able to do that before until I started practice trying to walk through a wall in the physical because of this stupid patent. And I was just doing it playing around really at first, but then I kind of tried to take it seriously. And yeah, it's fascinating. Let me see. I'll tell you
because you have to be able to convince your conscious mind that it's possible. And in order to do that, you have to, it goes back to coordination of heart and mind. So you have to allow yourself to believe that it's possible. So you have to convince the conscious brain that you can do it. So that's where lucid dreaming is really helpful, because you're practicing where there's not actual items with mass in it, like no matter. You're practicing manifestation and it's instant because there's not the matter which kind of slows things down. It actually kind of, that's why there's time in this side and not in the dream world.
Well, I gotta show you this real quick before we end this one. Where's my walk through wall thing? Because I couldn't even believe there was a real patent on this. And I was on it for like 2 months. I was really trying this every day, every night before I went to bed. I would really try it. And at first I wasn't taking it seriously. Then I started taking it real seriously, and I would meditate before. And so I'm still walking into walls. So I haven't made it yet, but I think it is possible, though. I definitely think it's possible that you can do it.
Well, the dream searchers were opening whole portals and moving through them. So that's something.
what was while I'm looking for this, what was that experience you were talking about? Because that was the whole reason I wanted to interview you. When I heard you talk to Paranoid American about when you were in that dream and you what was his name? Edward
John
Kelly
D.
or John D.
John D.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about that experience and what that was about?
Well, that wasn't my own dream. That's from the dream searchers, or the dream hackers. They basically, one of them was a librarian, and the one who was a librarian is one who I think figured out how to have the dream read to you. So that's where I got that idea, and I've tried it and it works. So, but he worked in a library and he was very good at mind palaces, or at memory palaces. So he was really good at memorization techniques. So he would have the dreaming emissary in his library just sit there and read to him, and he was able to like read whole books and commit them to memory and come back on this side of reality and be able to write it down, whatever he had learned. So one night in his library, he saw John D. And so he followed John D., who had like one of the greatest esoteric libraries of all times, allegedly. And I think they went into John D's library, and John D not only had the extensive esoteric library, he also had a computer, which they're like, wow, this is insane. But they learned this magical card practice called the Patience of the Medici, which is done with regular playing cards. And so, yeah, these Russian dream hackers literally found John D in the dream space and were able to access his library on that side of reality.
That is bizarre that John D would have a computer, right? Like, but it makes
it
sense.
Is, but I kind of go into the whole this is a simulation thing, and then we always hear about the Library of Alexandria getting burned down and all that. And I'm sitting there like, this is where my head goes with that. What if that is not a past event, or maybe it's a recurrent event? Maybe it's always been like, because we've gone from encyclopedias and every book in print, right? And now, how many books are printed? I wonder, it just now, like this year, in comparison to how many books were printed 10 years ago, or how many books are printed now compared to like 20 years ago. I bet you there's so many less books that are actually in print now because we all are reading them on our phones or listening to audiobooks. So if they wipe the internet, then the Library of Alexandria burns, right? Like the knowledge is lost. So we don't ever have how to, like I used to have a Home Depot book on how to do almost anything around your house. That's not even necessary. You have YouTube now. So if YouTube is gone and the internet's gone, how much knowledge is lost? So maybe the Library of Alexandria burning down wasn't a past event. It's a future event.
Oh, wow. So the next version of Library of Alexandria is just when they knock the internet out and everyone loses all the information all over again.
That's what I'm saying. What if that's just what happens every single time? Every reset.
Look, Abbie, this is a real patent where you can walk through walls, and they say people have done it. So like I was really trying this. It's pretty crazy. I'll drop the link in the thing for you if you want to take a look at it.
Oh yeah.
Because maybe you can do it, and maybe you could try it. But it's fascinating to me that they were trying stuff like this and someone actually patented the technique on how to do it. That to me is just fascinating. It was patented January 19th, 2006.
Does this mean if someone were to like see you trying to walk through your wall, like they could like send you a cease and desist and be like, whoa, buddy, I invented that.
I mean, maybe, I don't know if you're using their technique. That's what it's about. It's really about the technique. And then I like the math of it all. That's what I was interested in.
Wasn't there that Russian institute that like the children, they blindfold them and they practice seeing through walls and stuff?
Bronikov.
The Bronikov, yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Another thing you can do is at nighttime, like I told people, it's better probably to get one of them dream masks, what like your mom would put on her face when she's sleeping so her eyes don't get puffy. Yeah, whatever the hell that thing's called. That way you don't cheat. But if you close your eyes real tight or wrap something around your head and you practice being able to see things in front of you, you can hold different things up or use your hands. You'll eventually be able to do it. And it'll look like it's like a green static. around yourself and around whatever object you're seeing. It looks like electricity, like a green static of electricity. And you'll get so good at it, you'll actually be able to see physical objects with your eyes closed. That's another. I mean, I'm always trying all this weird stuff, trying to learn how to do it. And, you know, I'm very honest. I'll tell you what works and what doesn't work. This one I haven't been able to crack yet, walking through a wall. I don't know if I'll ever be able to, but I'm going to continue to try the walking through a wall part. But
it's weird that you brought that up.
Dude, that would go viral, bro. You should start posting your experiments on
attempts?
like TikTok. Just be like, yeah, and just be like, this is attempt number, 274, and you just like, oof, ow, and that's the video.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that would go.
Do it.
That would go viral too, especially with my ass doing it. Because I don't go on camera a lot, so people would be like, "Oh shit, look at Tommy over here walking into walls. What kind of drugs is he on?"
Looks like they're doing movements in this too. Like it looks like they're doing like the OA type of movements,
magical passes
as you kind of go through. Yeah, before they walk to the wall. I don't know if that's.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe to get Tommy a helmet.
Ain't this crazy, bro? And then you wonder, like, okay, who came up with this? So they're saying people actually did it and were able to walk through walls. And then you could find all kinds of documents on the CIA's website where they actually were using people that had these abilities. I mean, it's fascinating, but it's all that our mind is so much more powerful than we've been told, and that's why I think they put us on a lot of people that they put on these medicines. I don't even think there's nothing wrong with them. I think they have, now not everyone, of course, there's people out there with schizophrenia, right? But some of them, maybe it's an ability that they have that they're suppressing and they know about that. A show you should watch, Abbie, is called Split. That ain't that what it's called? Paranoid, that one I watched, Split?
M. Night Shyamalan, yeah, it's part of his series with Unbreakable. I think Split's the third one in the series.
Yeah, you got to watch all three of them, Abbie. Unbreakable, Split, and what's the other one? Glass, right? Mr. Glass? Right. Yes.
Yeah, because Unbreakable is Bruce Willis, Glass is Samuel L. Jackson, and then Split is, I don't remember the dude's name, but he has split personalities.
So he has split personalities, and one of his split personalities is a female. He has like 23 of them or something. The 23rd one is the devil. He calls him the beast. And it's so nuts, Abbie. Like the one that's called the beast, when he turns into that split personality, he literally puts on like 30 pounds of muscle. It's so crazy. He can bend bars, climb up walls. So like there's something going on there. Of course, it's a movie, but there's been many studies on it in real life. And that they think there's something going on in the brain where they convince themselves that they have them abilities, and they can do that. It's so fascinating, though. You should watch it. I guarantee you would love it.
I watch Unbreakable and Split. I've never seen Glass, but I need to watch them all together because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, if you didn't know, that's a full trilogy. That's the order. It goes Unbreakable, Glass, and then Split.
When you get time, start over, watch Unbreakable, then Glass, then Split, and then it'll all make sense to you. You'll like,
that's awesome.
Shit, what's going on here? It was like I was stuck on it for probably 4 months, man, decoding them 3 movies because it was so fascinating, the stuff I seen. But
I want to do Devil soon too, which is one of M. Night Shyamalan's very first movies where the people get trapped in an elevator and they're told that one of the people there is the devil and they have to kind of like figure it out piece by. It's almost like a murder mystery sort of, like a dinner show you would go to, but in an elevator.
Wow,
yeah,
that sounds interesting.
That's good.
I remember seeing it, but I can't remember what Devil was about.
We'll rewatch it. We'll do a decode because I think now in retrospect, there's a lot more to it than just an early M. Night Shyamalan movie. But I also want to let Abbie and Owen go here because we destroyed the first season of OA, but we also left a lot on the table so we can do season 2, I think. And so first, can Owen just tell people where they can find you and other projects and podcasts and stuff you got going on?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much. Great to be here. Great chatting with you, Tommy. And as
Oh, thank
always,
you.
yeah, always, Thomas. Yeah, Abbie and I are currently working on a series talking about this reality transurfing book. It's kind of a more modern sort of metaphysical model of reality. It has a lot to do with some of the stuff that we're talking about today. The name of the podcast is Blue Collar Mystics. And Bootsy Greenwood, that's my stripper name. I'm actually doing a nursing home later. So, find me, find me on like Instagram and all that stuff there, as well as my YouTube page. Just
You ain't
Bootsy
got
Greenwood.
no OnlyFans?
Yeah.
No.
No, man, they're too corporate for me. I'm more direct to consumer. I'm on that
Yeah,
level.
shit. Since YouTube's been censoring me, I might have to start an OnlyFans here pretty soon.
Why not?
As you should.
Yeah. And all their links, guys, are down in the description. Abbie's links are down there. Owen's links are down there. And we didn't get to hear a lot from Owen, but we'll definitely bring you on again, brother.
Thank you very much. It was a blast to be here. Thank you, guys.
And happy birthday, Abbie.
Thank you. It's unbirthday. It's my unbirthday.
Happy unbirthday, Abbie.
Yeah.
So, Tommy, you got anything going on? Any new projects or links or videos?
No, just rebuilding YouTube again. So.
Yeah, anyone watching this, go and blast Tommy's link to the YouTube again because it got absolutely decimated by YouTube. So we need to build it back up to its former glory and then some.
Yeah, on Pi Day, guys. So 3.14, just to let you know, they took my channel. But I apologize. I was a little in a not such a good mood when you guys first came on. I was just dealing with that, and it's a big blow when you build something and then lose it. And it's been like the 30th time it's happened. So,
oof.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, but whatever.
It never feels good. There's never a point when you're like, oh yeah, this old warm bath. It's always like a heart, like you said, the first thing you saw and you woke up, and I know that feeling of like your heart just sinking, like, no, this can't be happening. And then, dude, like, what do you do, right? You plead with the AI bot. Like, you're not like, even if you contact YouTube and say appeal, like, no one's reading that. There's not a human being.
No one's reading it.
No, dude.
No, I actually I had AI write up a thing that looks like a lawyer and pretend like it was a lawyer and sent that to him. But, I ran it through that thing that you taught me to run through to make sure it looked human. So I kept making AI rewrite it, which, by the way, dude, I got this chat GPT I created. I'll send you the link. It's pretty spot on. Every time you drop it in there, it'll pretty much write it like it's human and not detect that it was written by AI, but it kind of it doesn't sound natural that way to me. I'll send you the link so you can play around with it. But man, so we'll see what happens.
Everyone for coming to this one. Thanks for watching the OA, Tommy. I know I just hit you up like a week ago and you just burnt right through it because you said it was like it really is. If you know what you're watching, it's a million times more interesting, in my opinion. If you have no idea what you're seeing, you're just like, this is weird. Okay, fine, like moving on. But knowing what they're doing things that represent actual patents he was bringing up. Anyways, all that's wild. And I also wanted to do a shout out for Abbie that I think tonight we're also doing our weekly live Secret Society of Good Guys. So we had, Oh wow, you've got the hoodie. I don't even have the hoodie yet. I got to get me one.
Yeah, I love the hoodie.
We do these at midnight on Fridays, and midnight Eastern. And man, they usually run like about 4 hours, and I'm like, it destroys my weekend, but I still love doing it, and I'll keep doing it.
It's so fun. Like it does. It takes a lot out of you the next day, but man, it's just you guys are my favorite people to hang out with.
I can't do that. We used to do Saturdays, and I started like canceling on Paranoid all the time. I was like, I got to go to my kid's game, dude. And so, the weekend, it's too hard. But hey, shout out to you guys for that. The audience, go check them out. Make sure you guys go watch them. And thank you, Paranoid. For coming on here.
We'll give you a shout out on Secret Society tonight too, and help you get built up some more.
Yes.
All right, brother. And Abbie, thank you. I was really excited to talk to you. So I'm sorry if we didn't stay on OA the whole time. I just had so many things I was wanting to talk to you
Well,
about.
that was
But thank you.
probably my fault too, but you know, it doesn't matter. It goes where it goes. It goes where it's supposed to go.
Right.
All right, yeah. Well, I don't have any of my commercials loaded here, so it's just going to be an abrupt ending. But the next time we do one of these, I'll have all my commercials good to go. So just hum a little Paranoid American sticker song in the back of your head right now. Paranoid American stickers. And go to paranoidamerican.com and get some stickers. So I love you all, guys. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks, Abbie. Thanks, Owen. And Tommy, Tommy always brings the chat, and it's always lit. There's always people that are like, I'm from Australia, I'm from New Zealand, I'm from Netherlands, I'm from Canada. So it's awesome. Wherever Tommy goes, man, like the party follows him. So appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no problem, brother. I love y'all. Have a good day.
All right, peace out.
Have a good one.
Yep, peace.